connected, and nobody knows more of the bookies in Las Vegas than Brent Musburger. It's My Guys in the Desert with the legend of the guys behind the counter, broadcasting only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network at VSiN.com and SiriusXM Channel 204. Live from the VSiN studios, it's the one and only Brent Musburger.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. Did you just hear, by the way, my man Ron Flatter say that Nathan Peterman was going to start for Buffalo? Get on that before it moves to about 12. Get on that 9 point. Give me that Buffalo Bill numbers there, Vinny. Give it to me, baby.
It opened 8.5 here, Brent, and it is climbing, and there are 9s, 9.5s out there. You'll see 10 on this game.
No question.
Before the weekend arrives.
No question. The Bears coming off a good performance against the Jets at home over the weekend, and we welcome back Amal Shah and John Murray is with us right now, director, of course, from the Superbook over at the Westgate. Tomorrow here on VSiN, John will have all the numbers for the Superbook contest. And, John, I'll tell you, the favorites came through for the players over the weekend. The top 5 picks I see over there in the contest all hit this week.
Yeah, when the consensus plays go 5-0 in the Super Contest, it's usually not a good sign for the sports book.
Mm-hmm. We got a guy hitting 80%, I think, who's up on top. So, Amal, tell me how your week. By the way, congratulations on the Red Sox. I want to give you full credit. Back in April, when I think I was hyping the Yankees, you said, hang on, everybody. The Red Sox are a better team, and certainly they were the best team in the World Series.
Yeah, it proved in the postseason. David Price was outstanding. I think that was a key for the Red Sox. But I'm still frustrated by the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals couldn't protect a 20-point home lead.
Unbelievable.
This weekend. So that
cost me 5-0 in the contest.
It's amazing to me. And you've got this much of a lead. They were dominating the first half. Joe Mixon was running all over Tampa.
Right.
Second half looked like a completely different team. But I'll tell you, I want to go to the Sunday night game for a second. I can't remember the last time a fumble changed a game as much as it did the Sunday night game between Minnesota and New Orleans when Adam Thielen fumbled that ball.
Absolutely agree.
They're up 13-10. They've got a field goal in their back pocket. Normally you'd say it's automatic, but Bailey has not been the same kicker in Minnesota that he's been in the past. But that fumble, Marshawn Lattimore picks it up. Then Treadwell gets a personal foul penalty. Takes the ball from the 32 to the 17. Saints score a touchdown. I think in one play with Kamara. Or 2 plays, rather, and boom, next thing you know, the game just completely flips on its head. Whereas Minnesota, had they been able to capitalize there, they get the ball to start the second half, would have been a different dynamic potentially.
Now, who's your GOAT coach of the week? Who screwed up the timing of the clock and the use of timeouts, Maul? Let's hear it, big fella.
Well, there wasn't anything catastrophic, but there's one thing these coaches in the National Football League have to explain to me, and it starts with Paul Pasqualoni. Let's go back to 1997, West Virginia, Syracuse, when he sent a guy back on a punt return. There's no business doing it. Brent, here's my problem, okay? When an opponent is punting the ball from midfield, and there's less than a minute to go, and they have 1 or 2 timeouts remaining, why are you sending a guy back to fair catch the ball at the 10-yard line? There's nothing to be gained from it except a potential fumble for the opponent. You let the ball bounce, even if it's down at the 1-yard line. You run 3 quarterback sneaks into the line, you get out of there. These guys can't understand that. You're paying these guys $5 million, but they don't have common sense?
Okay.
He's right about
Thanks,
that.
Amal. John, Big John, you got anything you want to rant about?
I think you missed one, Amal. Todd Bowles punted with 5 minutes left, trailing 24-10.
Yeah, I did not see that. I would not subject myself to a Jets game.
24-10, and it was like
terrible.
5.5 minutes left, and he punted.
That's terrible.
That was the worst one I saw this week. But there weren't as many highlights as we usually get.
Vinny, how about you, lad?
Here's what the 40-year veteran is going to say. It's going to happen again this weekend.
He's right.
If you guys trust me when I tell. Now, listen, you're going to see plays every week. They scratch your head. They confound you. By the way, Amal, that Bengals situation, one of the few dogs that they got bet and covered this week, John.
Yeah, and I didn't think we were going to talk about Paul Pasqualoni. Amal, really.
Well, Brent didn't specify which weekend.
I had no idea. I didn't prepare for
Give
that
it full rein. You're right, Vinny.
Right? He didn't specify which weekend.
In a little bit. That's my fault.
It's a good reference there.
Thank you.
I remember Paul Pasqualoni.
I have a compliment for the state of Nevada. Arlene and I voted today, and it was in a temporary tent that was put up in the Summerlin Mall. And I've never had such an easy time going with the voter registration card quickly. They give you something, you go in, you hook it in. and up comes the process through. You vote for everybody and the different propositions in the state of Nevada. I thought it was a fabulous experience, all this early voting that you can get done because you don't know what you're going to be doing next Tuesday. And so I just want to pass that along. This was the easiest time I've ever had. There was nobody politicking me on the way into the tent. There was nobody handing out leaflets so I could go on about my business. Now, John and Vinny, I'm looking at the September Nevada gaming figures. You guys are living large. The overall, the win, $56 million. That's an all-time. The hold here in this state was 9.86, up almost 27% over a year ago. King football leading the way. Now, some of the basketball tickets obviously were cashed in.
Right.
That's why it shows a $500,000 loss. I got to tell you, if I'm baseball, I look at that number and I say, we got trouble in River City. I mean, there was $4,249,000 wagered on baseball, $3,319,000 on horse racing. And horse racing's been having a struggle through the years. And Jimmy LaCarroll's going to make fun of me. Look at my sports parlay cards. You guys had a 60% hold. That's all on me. Okay.
Parlay cards are good for business, Vinny.
Yeah, we started to, I can tell you right now, October started off in a very different direction. So this will normalize.
Did it? Did you give some back a little bit?
The last 2 weeks have been very good for the bettors.
John,
we live in the
knows.
moment, Vinny. September is way in the rear view mirror.
Forget September.
October, not so good. The Patriots game last night.
We went to our meetings this week. They didn't bring up September.
You guys probably were strung out on parlays and a lot of other things, teasers and things like that with the Patriots, correct?
Yes,
Patriots, it was a good result for the bettors last night. It would have been better for the bettors had the game gone over. So, look, it started the week got started on Thursday night with the Dolphins going down and not covering. The Texans got the ball rolling, and it rolled right through last night.
Okay,
Arizona saved us, Vinny.
Did they?
Arizona was a big comeback win for us.
Good.
Yeah, they handed the 49ers. You know, the Cardinals have won 2 games, and both have been against the 49ers. Okay, and I believe the 49ers' only win was against Detroit. Is that right, Amal?
Yes.
Correct. Before Garoppolo got hurt.
Garoppolo
You know, Amal,
was still playing.
Kyle Shanahan called timeout while Arizona still had the ball to give his team some time on the ensuing drive. Not many coaches would have done that, and it was a really smart coaching decision.
No,
by Shanahan.
I disagree. Harbaugh, Belichick, there's the guys that would do that.
Some would, not many, though.
Oh, I'm not
a lot
saying
of
that all
coaches would have stood there with their hands in their pockets.
Yeah, some would have. That one you had to. You already knew Arizona had 1st and goal to go. It's an obvious situation.
It's obvious to us.
Well, it's
It's
amazing.
obvious to me and you, but I don't know about-
It's amazing you'd spend $5 million on a head coach, but it's not important that he figures out how to manage the clock.
You think Bill O'Brien or Hugh Jackson would have called that timeout?
Well, let me tell you, I'm glad Hugh Jackson is out because he should have been out when you only win 3 games and you haven't won a road game in your entire tenure in Cleveland. Bill O'Brien, how this guy has survived is beyond me.
Jason Garrett is the one that I
Bill
can't get over.
O'Brien?
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien is on the verge of getting to the playoffs this year.
He plays in the AFC South, right? He should make the playoffs every year.
Still counts. You were touting Jacksonville
I know,
before
they've
the
had a bad
season
year.
started.
They've had a terrible year. I've been completely wrong on Jacksonville.
So Houston's been winning games, my friend.
Well, but can we look at the schedule they've beaten? There's a lot of teams that would have won
Doesn't
the game.
matter. They count.
Well, wait a minute.
I don't care who they play. What are we going? You going to do the Alabama on me now with the National Football League?
Well, at least I
Come
like that
on,
reference
Amalski.
point. At least I like that reference point. No, listen, we'll see how
Vinny, I
good they
can't
are.
let him run rampant all the time.
Well, I'm just trying to figure this out too because
John, I got to rein him in.
he just got Demarius Thomas too, Bill O'Brien. So
That was a good trade. By the way, that's why Dallas should be mad because they traded a first-round
I was
pick
about to say that.
for
Oh, yeah.
Amari Cooper.
A first-round pick.
And you get Demarius Thomas for, what, a 7th and a 4th?
And Amal, what are the Cowboys paying Amari Cooper next year? What was that number?
$13.9
14
million.
Is that all? Is
That's
that all?
all.
And a first-round pick.
Yes.
And the Eagles get Golden Tate for a 3? Boy, I wonder which team looks better.
Listen. We have to hang on about this one. There is no doubt that Denver knew Demarius Thomas was available. They made a decision to go for Amari Cooper. So I say, let's stay tuned on those 2 receivers. John, I'd hate to say that you're jumping to judgment here on that.
You think I am?
Well,
You know what I thought was strange? I'm
So
sorry.
why
Amal.
do you guys think Demarius Thomas is so much better than Amari Cooper? Now,
Because he plays across from number 10 now. DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, that's
better
going to help him.
better pairing.
That's going to change the dynamic.
Giving up a 4 instead of a 1 is
Yeah.
the main thing for me, Brent. I mean,
But Amari Cooper becomes the number 1 receiver.
But he's
at
not a
Dallas.
number 1. That's the problem.
He had 2 years in which he was really a number one.
Well, he's only played 4 years. 50% of the time, he's not a number one.
Well, we still have to wait and see what happens. Huh?
Trading a first-round pick is tough.
Friend, I got a lot of rest the last couple of days.
I know.
I'm fired up.
No, man, I got to get it out before we get some commercials here to pay some. I tell you what, let us take a break because we've got these 5 big trades. Demarius is one of them. It's interesting because Houston and Denver meet this week.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they come back together. I don't know that Demarius is going to be ready to go with the system. Amari's had a bye week, so he will certainly be ready to go on Monday night for the Cowboys. But let's come back, guys, and let's take these trades and then let's juxtapose them to this weekend's games and see if we can make some money from somebody. VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
You didn't catch VSiN last week. Here's some of what you missed.
This is from Playboy. I think they're both. Playboy is when Tyson got knocked out by James Buster Douglas. So Playboy got a
Buster
hold of
Douglas,
Dave
yeah.
last year, and they had this wonderful picture of Douglas standing over top of Tyson. So they called me up. They did a story around it, and this is one of the things that I will always keep. Now, I also want to make it clear that Playgirl contacted me to be in their next centerfold issue. Also,
Is that the basketball picture?
It was a yin and a yang. Yeah, that was it.
You certainly are going to settle for just the first-round pick for Derek Carr. I'm thinking that if someone offers them a first and a fourth, the conditional fourth, which could elevate based on certain conditions, kind of like the Sam Bradford trade, maybe they have to seriously consider that. Don't forget, 2016, Derek Carr, third in the MVP voting. People were making these Aaron Rodgers comparisons, which don't seem to have any validity for the way he's played ever since then. But quarterbacks are hard to find, and teams overvalue them in the draft and usually overvalue them in trade packages.
I'm here. I like to inform the public on different things, and I think VSiN is the platform. Even when I'm not here, like I always say, where else are you going to get information like this?
That's right.
I mean, that's the number one question asked to me. Hey, Crack, can you help me out? Hey, Crack, can you help me? What do you think I should do going forward? Everyone wants to be a professional. It's unbelievable how many people say, man, I want to start doing this full time. You know what I always say to them? I wouldn't recommend it for my enemies. I mean, it's such...
You got to be built a certain way.
It's that tough. But take the first step and have VSiN. Here we are.
So let's go with the fact that the interior defense isn't that great for the Houston Rockets. Carmelo Anthony's going to actually get a lot of flack, and he's minus 15 through his 3 games. They've been atrocious in terms of defense.
That's an alarming number.
Yes, it is.
Is that worse than the league by a wide margin?
Yeah, they're dead last in the league in terms of points allowed in the paint per game. So that's going to be a big reason why, and that's why they're not as good defensively. So you look at no Chris Paul, really bad defensively. I feel like the Utah Jazz are really just a good Donovan Mitchell game away from turning things around. Mm-hmm. So as part of the hashtag NBA Pick'em All Challenge, I used the Utah Jazz, catching 2.5 points. Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM Channel 204, and VSiN.com.
Guys, let's begin with the Green Bay Packers because they were the most active today. Obviously, they basically fired Ty Montgomery after his mistake late against the Rams when he ran the ball out of the end zone on a kickoff return, defying orders, and then on top of it, compounded it by fumbling the end of that game away when Aaron Rodgers at least had a chance to take them down for a game-winning field goal. So he goes to the Baltimore Ravens. Ty Montgomery gone from the Packers. Ha-ha, Clinton Dix. I've listened to some football people talk about this. This surprised some people today. Green Bay moved him to Washington. And I'm told it is a salary situation, that the Packers would not meet his demands for a contract next year. They knew they weren't not going to pay him, and they felt they could get more right now. So they send him to the Washington Redskins. Now, the Packers have a big, big game coming up on Sunday night. After playing in Los Angeles, they go home to practice. Then on Sunday, they head east to play New England on the NBC primetime game. And Vinny, has this number moved yet in anybody's favor? Everybody was on the Packers against the Rams, as John Murray just pointed out during that break. But what about this one?
This game opened 6.5 yesterday here at the South Point. Brent sits at 5.5 now. I think it's a combination of things. I mean, because you would think that, the Packers. He's a good defensive player, but I think the Packers overall showed that they had a good overall defense last week against the Rams, and I think Buffalo showed some things last night to where they contained the Patriots for quite some time. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter last night. Yeah. So maybe a bit of I think personally that there'll be plenty of Patriot money in this game as we get closer to game time, but a 1-point difference to the Packers here from 6.5 to 5.5. A little bit curious.
John, what's your feeling over at the Superbook about this game?
I think you're going to see a lot of straight bets on the Packers money line, and you're going to see a lot of money on the over for sure. Oh, yeah. But New England money line will be included in a ton of parlays throughout the day, so there'll be a lot of money on both sides. We're going to need the game to go under for sure.
Yeah.
Brent, I think there's going to be some opportunities. People are going to look back to what Pat Mahomes did against New England on that Sunday night game. Their offense was very successful. They don't have quite the running game, obviously, that Kansas City has, but I think Rodgers is playing well. I think this team offensively is starting to find themselves. I thought if they had the opportunity on Sunday, they would have gone down and gotten a field goal, worst-case scenario. In this game where you're getting more than a critical number of 3, 3.5, or 4, I think people are going to simply look towards Green Bay because one thing, if you're within 11 points, you're always going to have a shot with Rodgers there.
Did I hear Joe Tessitore correctly that the Patriots' defense had not scored a touchdown in 40 games until last night? Does that sound right?
I heard that.
I thought I heard Joe say that.
I heard him say it, but yeah.
It sounded like, really?
Not a fumble? I mean, what did he mean? An interception return? Again, I'm not. I heard him too, but I'm not 100% sure because I can't imagine.
Yeah, because I was kind of a little bit distracted at the time, and I thought I heard him say that it was the longest streak in the NFL, and because there was a big celebration on the Patriots bench. I know when that pick six came. I mean, they jumped up and down for a long time and surrounded him. Tom Brady led the celebration.
It would be hard to believe that during this era, the Brady-Belichick era, that there hasn't been a fumble recovered or something, right?
They picked a hell of a time for the bookmakers, Vinny, to break that
timing is everything.
Touchdown strike. Oh my gosh, that was not good.
Trust me, the celebration on the Patriots sideline was not nearly as raucous as the one in
what was the closing line everybody had for that one?
I think it was 14.
Last night, 14.
Yeah, and
14.
They were up 18-6.
Yeah,
and. Wow. And then, the Bills had thrown what looked like a touchdown on the previous play. Now, obviously, on review, we saw that it was not a touchdown. But initially, it was called a touchdown the previous play.
And then a penalty, false start.
Yeah. And so, again, if you're just joining us, Nathan Peterman is going to go for the Bills against the Bears. And the opening number was at 9. Get on the Bears now. That's going over double digits because, first of all, the Bills can't score without Peterman, and with him, they're in danger of throwing an interception in every one of their series. Yeah. I mean, I feel badly for the youngster, but he has been a walking interception. What was it, 5 in the first half when he was a surprise starter against the Chargers last year?
Yes.
I mean, think about that for a minute.
I said before that game, I said, if anyone watched him play at Pittsburgh, you got to be on the Chargers in this particular game. And sometimes I see some of these guys in there. It's got to be extremely frustrating for the defense. I thought that defense played well enough, Brent, last night, to win the game. Offense couldn't muster anything. And a lot of teams have moved the ball extremely well against New England.
Well, maybe an overplay in that Bears game. I said that to JVT and Sammy on the last show. If Peterman's turning the ball over at a clip like he normally does, over 37.5 could be easy. A lot of short fields for the Bears offense.
Is that the number, 37.5?
Lowest total of the season.
I was getting ready to say it had to be lowest. I haven't seen one under 38.
37.5.
Right, you can't play this game under, and here's why. In the NFL today, between the personal foul calls on quarterbacks and the PI calls when a guy just looks at the receiver the wrong way, you put a guy into field goal range. And these kickers are so good nowadays that if you're inside the 35, you almost feel like you have an automatic 3 points.
Well, that depends on what team you're covering. These kickers are so good. Okay. Listen, Buffalo.
I agree with that.
Buffalo's overall, they're only averaging 10.9 points a game, giving up 25. And at home, they've only averaged 13, giving up 22. And now here comes Peterman. But I'm saying right now, run if you're in New Jersey, Mississippi, West Virginia, Delaware, certainly here in Nevada. if you want to make a wager on Chicago, that number is going to go to double digits beyond a shadow of a doubt. Everybody agree with that?
It's
no question.
There's 9.5s and 10s out there already.
Will they play Amal's guy, Terrell Pryor, at quarterback?
Oh, it can't be any worse than Nathan Peterman. That's never a good sign when you got to say can't be any worse.
Hey, do me a favor, John. When you give the static lines for the contest tomorrow, will you leave it at 9 for me? Will you?
Brent, 9.5's okay, too.
I'll see what I can do.
9.5's all right.
We'll
call it 9, and then that'll be my pick for you.
All right.
Make it easy.
Now, let us go. You know, this is a youngster who was a first-round draft choice, I believe, out of Florida. I think he was a Gator. Dante Fowler.
The top 3 pick.
Yeah, number 3 overall. Yep.
Jacksonville.
Good player.
Now, this is interesting because when you look at the Los Angeles Rams, if you compare the Rams and the Saints, and that's who they play this with, huge marquee game coming up late Sunday afternoon down in New Orleans in the Superdome. The Rams seem to have a little bit better defense, especially up front. They just got a little bit better if Fowler takes care of business and stays healthy here.
Brent, and this is a game, the Saints are up to 1.5 now, but if you look at the Rams, they've not been particularly stellar or as good as you would think against the run. Fowler helps them in that category, I think, a great deal, and putting more pressure on the quarterback. So I think it's certainly an upgrade. There's no question about it. It also tells you what, the Rams, they're all in. They're all in for this year.
And they should be.
And rightfully so, right?
This is a critical game. Could determine who has home field advantage in a potential rematch for the NFC Championship.
Stan Kroenke is putting chip. You know, if he was in a poker game, he's moved all his chips to the middle of the table.
Sure.
And it makes a lot of sense because the NFL was out of Los Angeles for a long, long time. And I read the LA Times almost every day. And they do a good job of covering the Rams and the Chargers. But it's obvious that it's not an NFL city like it was back in the day when the Raiders came in and joined the Rams, who had moved down the freeway down to Anaheim. So, and I also know because of the glitz in the movies and when I lived there, it's a front-running city. Not that others aren't. But if you're in a city like Chicago, Pittsburgh, well, obviously Green Bay, but even down to Dallas and Houston and cities like that, they follow their teams win or lose. Certainly Raider fans do, and they're critical of it. L.A. fans will go to the beach. They will leave you alone. They've got so many other things that they can do. And Kroenke, I'm sure, is gambling with this new mega beautiful stadium that'll someday host a Super Bowl out there close to LAX. That he can sell some tickets, that this team can capture the imagination, and I think it can if it makes a move. This is an exciting football team. I can make the argument that Todd Gurley is a lot better. And he certainly, as we talked yesterday, Amal, you weren't with us, he made absolutely the right move by sitting down. And, you know, I'll tell you what bothers me about the media and gambling. They made a big thing out of that. Okay, listen, gamblers know you're going to have tough losses. You're going to have great wins sometimes, okay? Fantasy players understand. That was not the headline. The headline is that Gurley made a smart football move, okay? Sit down right there. Quit talking about this in terms of gambling. It is what it is. Some people won with it. Other people's lost with it. Life goes on. Right. But that was not. Because what happens is then guys get in bars and they start to say, oh, Gurley was betting on the game. And well, get out of here with that crap, okay? That's not the biggest part of that story, okay? The biggest part of that story is that was a hell of a football move on the part of Todd Gurley. You players get it in the W column. They don't worry about fantasy. They're not worried about us who like point spreads and take one side or the other. That's not their business. Their business is to get a W, and that's what the Rams did.
Brent, you can complain all you want as a fan, but at the end of the day, there were as many people that were thankful that he did it because they had the Packers in that game. So the bottom line is this: he made us. We started off the show today talking about bad decisions by coaching staffs in terms of clock management. That guy made the smart play.
These writers, $1 million changed hands.
Okay.
Well, $1 million would have changed hands. We went in the end zone. So what are you telling me, okay? It didn't change anything. It was a different winner and a different loser.
And the second half would have changed hands. And the total would have changed hands. But Gurley's got about $50 million guaranteed coming in from the Rams. So what do you think they would have had to pay him?
$1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the whole thing is just completely ridiculous.
Brent, I thought what you said was extremely well said. Here's the thing. People are like, well, they were up by 2. You know what? If they missed the extra point, it's still only a one-possession game.
Exactly.
If anybody watched the game 24 hours earlier in the L.A. Coliseum, Arizona State converted a 4th and 1. Manny Wilkins scores a touchdown. I'm like, take it. He should have just fallen down at the 1-yard line. He scores. SC goes down in a minute. They got an onside kick opportunity. They didn't recover it, but had they recovered the onside kick, they would have had a chance to win. But this Rams team, I want to go back to the Saints-Rams game. This is such a critical game.
Huge.
Because you know what this reminds me of? When the hype was around Super Bowl 24.5 between the 49ers and the Giants, those two unbeaten teams, I think 9-0 in San Francisco, and the 49ers won. The Giants ended up paying them back when they got them and went to the Super Bowl. But to me, both of these teams need the home field in the postseason. I think they're both good teams, but I think the Saints are incredibly difficult to beat in New Orleans, just like I think the Rams will be tough to beat in Los Angeles. I think the Saints have a better chance in January to win in L.A. than the Rams do in New Orleans in the Dome in January.
Well, the Saints.
I agree with that, by the way.
The Saints have proven they can win on the road.
Yeah.
Well,
this year, right at Baltimore when they were playing much better, and of course last week at the Vikings. Now, not saying that they would love to be. They would rather be in the Big Easy for this for a rematch in the playoffs. No question about it. That's a great point. By the way, this will be the biggest betting game of the weekend when you look at it.
You think it'll be more than the Sunday night game?
I think so, only because it'll lead up to it. Now, there may be more liability going to that game, John, depending on what happens to it, but I think there's so much more interest in it. But
it's a much better game.
They're
But
both
the island games, generally, there's just so much money in
back to back. It makes them both really, really attractive.
Mississippi betting will push this one over.
We did have, we did.
They'll drop
we did
by
go to
Biloxi and see our boys.
We did go to Biloxi yesterday, and Biloxi is not even close.
John, what a weekend, okay? You've got Alabama in Baton Rouge, and you got the Rams in New Orleans. Be in the Bayou this weekend. Stop on by Mississippi for a couple of all my trucker friends who travel down there in 10 and like to take a little shot on the Crimson Tide. Stop on by Biloxi, and then don't forget now, you got the Saints. You got the Saints and the Rams, man. What a weekend down there in Louisiana. Such great football fans. John, before we let you go here today, Red Sox win the World Series. How was it over at the Superbook?
You know, we had an excellent position on the Red Sox to win the World Series, and that made our day Sunday look a lot better than it really was, Vinny, because the NFL results were not good, but we were able to post that Boston World Series future. So our bottom line was pretty good.
Terrific point by John, because the exposure going into the Final Four of the baseball season, Brent, was all on the Astros, and there was no secret. Mr. Mack, Mr. Mack came in, and he had a big position on the Astros. So we're in a good spot with both the Dodgers and the Red Sox, but better with the Red Sox. So it kind of eased the pain of football on Sunday.
A couple other things. Those of you who say, "Oh, we got to jump on Houston now," they've got second wide receiver having picked up Demaryius Thomas. They're going to go in. They'll beat up the Broncos. Tread easily. Broncos can be tough in Mile High. Deshaun Watson, I know he's had that partially collapsed lung. He's had a terrific season, but he's been banged around too much. That offensive line in Houston is still a work in progress, so tread easily. I got why you might like Houston coming in. They're a better team, but they're playing this game in Denver. Now, the other trade that we haven't talked about, and I want to close with Golden Tate, the leading receiver, by the way, number of receptions by the Lions, went to the Philadelphia Eagles. What that does is it gives the Eagles a slot receiver, the small guy who can get loose. And the Lions, I am told, had other young receivers that they wanted to work in. It was simply that was it. Tate is a very popular athlete, no matter where he goes. The fans in Detroit are going to be upset about him moving on, but the team's not giving up. They've got some other guys down there. And Vinny, who do the Philadelphia they get the bye coming back from London, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Philadelphia's got the bye,
okay.
But they picked up obviously a good offensive player. Washington picked up a good defensive player. We know that's kind of a two-team race in that division, so it's going to be interesting. Move to the to the Lions already this week. From Vikings were 5.5, now 4.5.
Really,
so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I guess that's off of certainly the loss.
My initial
Sunday night.
John, what about you? My initial reaction of the Vikings would bounce back because of that. Amal pointed out that fumble by Thielen, who's been arguably the best receiver in the league this year. That was critical in turning that game around. I find myself leaning Viking way. John, do you have a feel?
We opened that game, I believe, 6.5, Vinny. Now, that was before the Sunday night game. And then Amal's absolutely right. Without that fumble, maybe Minnesota wins that game. We don't see this line adjustment.
Big difference.
So, that number does look a little cheap, actually. I agree with that.
Okay. John, thanks, my friend. I'll miss you tomorrow. I'll get an update. I'll be on my way over to the Battle of the Bay. The 49ers and the Raiders. Don't miss it on Thursday night. Back live with a Flatter Man update. VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204. Thanks, John.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
Listen, I'm going to give you the lock of the year, and Brent, you might want to write this down. This is a compliment coming to your Roll Tide. Bet Alabama first half every week, and you'll make money. 8-0 first half versus the number. That's it. I'm done.
By the way, unbelievable.
It is.
You know, I got to tell you who started betting that early was Matt Humans.
They haven't played a team with a pulse.
They're the best team now.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
You know,
but I heard a few people saying
from
ever.
the old-time guys like me, I shake my head, and they're running to the counter laying 27.5 in the first half like it's chocolate. It's just I just shake my head, but you know what? After we pay them off, they're looking at me like, you donkey, you don't know what the hell you're doing either. And they're right.
A straight bet for $100,000, a three-teamer for $180,000, and he lost a $20,000 four-teamer live to the Chargers. So we had 3 in going to that. So I guess he won $260 for the week.
So that's back-to-back weekends.
How would you like to make $260 in a 48-hour period bet? That would be nice.
Yeah, no kidding. I ran the numbers. The guy's up over $2 million in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I give him credit because he has the onions to bet.
Guess lines for Week 9 in the National Football League. Again, a tribute to the old Stardust Guessing Line show, trying to isolate value. Not sure we found any yet.
Well, there's something to think about in each one of them, right? You can make a case to take or lay these games that you've talked about already.
Nothing.
And that's the exercise, right? You know, you're making numbers as a season better.
Yep.
Comparing them to what's posted.
That's what we're doing
for your early consideration.
Many more games to go.
If you're going to make that pitch and change, knowing what's going to happen, you know, if you bring in Woody, he's obviously going to offset with the right. We know what's going to happen, so you knew the matchup that you were going to get. Were the numbers overwhelming enough to say I need this matchup? Because, you know, when you dig down, Baez, lefties hit 164 against him this season. He's dominant versus lefties, and he looked really good. My other thing is in that moment is if I do bring somebody else out of the bullpen right now, is he going to be as locked in as sharp as Baez is right now? That's my other thing. I understand what Devers has done. I remember the home run in Houston just like they do. I just felt like Baez was throwing that good to where I didn't need to make a move.
I'm Ron Flatter with your VSiN Action Update. 2 wide receivers, a running back, a defensive back, an edge rusher, they were all moved in exchange for mid to late round draft picks before today's NFL trade deadline. First, the pass catchers. Golden Tate goes from the Lions to the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Philly has the week off. Detroit, a 4.5-point underdog at Minnesota. Denver traded Demaryius Thomas to Houston. The 2 teams meet Sunday at Denver, with the Texans catching a 1.5. The Packers traded running back Ty Montgomery to Baltimore and safety HaHa Clinton-Dix to Washington. The Redskins are 1.5 home favorites against Atlanta. Baltimore lays 3 hosting Pittsburgh. Green Bay, a 5-point dog Sunday night at New England. To join pass rushers Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald, the L.A. Rams picked up defensive end Dante Fowler from the Jaguars. While Jacksonville is off Sunday, the Rams are plus 1.5 at New Orleans. Also today, the Bills said that Derek Anderson has a concussion, so Nathan Peterman will start at quarterback at home Sunday against the Bears. Chicago is favored by 9, although they have lost right guard Kyle Long to a foot injury for 6 to 8 weeks. And San Francisco quarterback C.J. Beathard has a cranky wrist that makes him less than certain to play Thursday night at home against the Raiders. The 49ers are favored by 3. D.J. Durkin will keep his job as football coach at Maryland. The university board recommended it after an investigation of his football program brought on by the heat stroke death of offensive lineman Jordan McNair this spring. Durkin has been on paid leave all season. Several players walked out on him during a team meeting this afternoon. Durkin will coach Saturday when the Terrapins are 2-point underdogs hosting Michigan State. Ohio State coach Urban Meyer says that a brain cyst is causing him to suffer severe headaches, but he tells Yahoo that he will not quit his job. The Buckeyes are 18-point favorites hosting Nebraska. Hockey, Nashville has the best record in the NHL. The Preds are 75-cent favorites hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. Take advantage of VSiN's midseason special. You get total access to our live and archive video, plus Point Spread Weekly and our special betting guides. Cost you only $99, taking you from now through the Super Bowl. Sign up at vsin.com/subscribe. More with Brent Musburger now, here on VSiN.
Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204, and VSiN.com.
Well, Amal and Vinny, we've got 4 National Hockey League games going at the top of the hour. Ron gave you an update on the Golden Knights. They start at 5 o'clock Pacific time in Nashville. So big schedule tonight. We've got, I can always tell when a grand salami slips over 60, we got a big schedule, and it's 65.5. That's the total goals over in the National Hockey League tonight. 65.5, the grand salami. So let us start in Columbus. The Blue Jackets are hosting the Detroit Red Wings, Vinny.
Yep, and Jackets, pretty big favorites here, Brent, and has not discouraged the bettors either. From 220 up to 230, the total now sitting at 6 over, and the Jackets also favored, obviously, on the puck line, minus 1.5 plus a quarter.
Check the goaltenders in this one, especially for Columbus. I'm not sure who's going to be starting there. Detroit really is struggling, Brent. They come in at 2-7-2. This is not the old Wings teams we're used to. This team is just trending in the wrong direction.
The total on this game is 6, and I hope you jumped on that under last night as far as Toronto was concerned without Matthews, and that was a lock, and that cashed in. Now, tonight's game, let's move to Pittsburgh. The Penguins have been red hot for the most part of the early going, 6-1, and 2, of course. They've got a couple of points that they got into overtime on. They host the Islanders.
Yep, and the Islanders, one of the early surprises, Brent, and they've enjoyed some success, particularly against the Metropolitan Division. They're getting to betting attention here. The Pens opened as 240 favorites, now down to 210. Barry Trotz certainly making a difference on Long Island so far. This is a high total as well, 6.5, and the Pens plus a quarter on the puck line if you think they can cover 2.
No surprise in this total, Brent. These two teams incredible in terms of scoring. Number 1 in scoring for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Islanders middle of the pack, but defensively they've had some issues at times. One concern I have with Pittsburgh is Murray's got to play a little bit better, even though this team has been outstanding so far.
Well, the Penguins are going for their 5th straight win. Okay, Letang is the game-time decision for them tonight. But when you're looking for your 5th straight win, they should be in pretty good shape tonight, and that's a pretty healthy line that you've got to give. 6.5, by the way, is the total, and that is the only game tonight with a total of 6.5.
Correct.
Okay, so we've got that. Then we've got the Bruins. The Bruins are going down Carolina way to play the Hurricanes.
Right. Carolina will be here this weekend, Brent.
Absolutely,
at
Saturday night.
Yep. Hurricanes right now sitting at minus a quarter, 5-cent move to the Bruins here. The Canes opened $1.30 total here. 6 unders favored at minus a quarter, and the Canes plus 220 if you think they can win this game by 2 or more, Amal.
Scott Darling going to be in net for the Hurricanes in this matchup. Boston, this is a team that's been quietly playing well. Everyone points towards the fact that Tampa's the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, but even though they're coming off a home loss to Montreal, potential for the Bruins to bounce back here.
We've got the Flames up in Buffalo to play the Sabres.
No movement yet. Just almost a pick 'em here. Just a slight lean to the Sabres at home, minus 15 cents. The total here, 6 under. And the Sabres, you can get a nice price here, plus 240 if you think they can win by 2 or more on that puck line.
You know, it's surprising to me that both these teams are over 500. They've been playing a little bit better this year than you anticipated, or at least that I did. This 2 teams kind of a surprise, and that's where you can make some money on some of these teams that go under the radar. Flames are a perfect example of a team that have had some value. I don't know as much here in terms of if you want to take them on the road, but Buffalo has not been too shabby this year.
Man, it is wide open in the East. Pittsburgh, with 14 points, leads the Metropolitan. That's one over Carolina. Columbus, 2 behind them. Toronto, with 16 points, leads the Atlantic. Tampa, 1 behind them. And Montreal's played very well at the start of the season. They're only 2 back of the leaders. Boston and Buffalo, way too early to talk about this, but they would be the early wild cards. The defending Cup champions, Washington, would not make the playoffs. They began way too early, but I do love to look at the early going.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville right now with 16 points, along with Colorado. Those are the 2 leaders out west, and they are both in the Central. As far as the Pacific, San Jose, and I think I saw that Thornton had been reactivated for tonight's game for San Jose. Let me double check that. They must be going later tonight against the Rangers, right?
You're correct on
There
that
you
one.
go.
He's missed 9 games. He's going to be back tonight.
Okay, so he'll be back in their lineup after missing the 9 games, and obviously Erik Karlsson has given them a shot in the arm. That's a 7:30 game hosting New York and the Sharks. That's how well they're playing. Look at that number right there.
260, Brent, holding steady here. The Sharks, substantial favorites today against the Rangers, 6 for the total, and the Sharks only plus 15 cents on the puck line.
Lundqvist has had his issues so far this year. I mean, when would you think you'd look at Henrik Lundqvist at 2-6-1? But San Jose, I thought you used the right word choice, Brent, when you said a shot in the arm. That's what Karlsson gave this team. They're a little bit older, but it just kind of reinvigorated them. They know that they've got one last opportunity to be able to get to the Cup. And I think you're starting to see it throughout the year in their play. We'll see if they can sustain it throughout the course of the regular season into the postseason.
By the way, Brent, just a note on the Golden Knights tonight. It looks like they're going to go with Malcolm Subban.
Subban's going to go against his brother.
Against his brother, yep.
All right.
In Nashville tonight.
He'll be in the Nets tonight. That'll be fun to watch.
Yep.
I do want to go back there. You see the Predators at minus 175 here at the South Point.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to go back to the Pittsburgh game because unfortunately that city is dealing with a horrible tragedy, and their football team, the Steelers, able to uplift the spirits a little bit, and now it will be up to the Penguins. This is their first home game since that senseless, horrible massacre at the synagogue. So it's going to be a very emotional night. We went through it here, with the Golden Knights last October, and man, all our thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the Penguin players tonight. Sidney Crosby has already spoken up about it. Are going to ride with the victims and their families tonight in that game. So we will take a break. It's also a good night, man. The NBA. Mm-hmm. I hope you were watching Michael Thompson or looked at the highlights today. We're going to come back and talk about that. VSiN.com, SiriusXM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
This is from Playboy. I think they're both. Playboy is when Tyson got knocked out by James Buster Douglas. So Playboy
Buster
got a hold of
Douglas,
last year, and they had this wonderful picture of Douglas standing over top of Tyson. So they called me up. They did a story around it, and this is one of the things that I will always keep. Now, I also want to make it clear that Playgirl contacted me to be in their next centerfold issue. Also,
is that the basketball picture?
It was a yin and a yang. Yeah, that was it.
You certainly are going to settle for just the first-round pick for Derek Carr. I'm thinking that if someone offers them a first and a fourth, the conditional fourth, which could elevate based on certain conditions, kind of like the Sam Bradford trade, maybe they have to seriously consider that. Don't forget, 2016, Derek Carr, third in the MVP voting. People were making these Aaron Rodgers comparisons, which don't seem to have any validity for the way he's played ever since then. But quarterbacks are hard to find, and teams overvalue them in the draft and usually overvalue them in trade packages.
I'm here. I like to inform the public on different things, and I think VSiN is the platform, even when I'm not here, like I always say. Where else are you going to get information like this?
That's right.
I mean, people, that's the number one question asked to me. Hey, Crack, can you help me out? Hey, Crack, can you help me? What do you think I should do going forward? Everyone wants to be a professional. It's unbelievable how many people say, man, I want to start doing this full time. You know what I always say to them? I wouldn't recommend it for my enemies. I mean, it's such...
You got to be built a certain way.
It's that tough. But take the first step and have VSiN. Here we are.
So let's go with the fact that the interior defense isn't that great for the Houston Rockets. Carmelo Anthony's going to actually get a lot of flack, and he's minus 15 through his 3 games. They've been atrocious in terms of defense.
That's an alarming number.
Yes, it is.
Is that worse than the league by a wide margin?
Yeah, they're dead last in the league in terms of points allowed in the paint per game. So that's going to be a big reason why, and that's why they're not as good defensively. So you look at no Chris Paul, really bad defensively. I feel like the Utah Jazz are really just a good Donovan Mitchell game away from turning things around. Mm-hmm. So as part of the hashtag NBA Pick'em All Challenge, I used the Utah Jazz, catching 2.5 points. Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204, and VSiN.com.
Well, Vinny, as you know, almost every week I can find a VSiN super fan, and this young man walked up to me, and he said, "Where's Amal Shah?" I mean, I thought he wanted my autograph. And I said, "Sir, Amal will be here shortly. He'll be on the broadcast." I say, "Why do you?" He said, "Because I'm another Ohio State." He's the only guy who stands up for the Buckeyes. So, Mr. Adam Frankel from Delray Beach, Florida, welcome to VSiN, sir. And let me introduce you to your fellow Buckeye over here, Mr. Amal Shah. Take it away, Buckeyes.
First of all, it's great to have a Buckeye. And Brent, he was telling me during the commercial break, he used to bartend at one of my favorite places on campus.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you don't drink.
Let me tell you, Brent, you got to go out to meet some of the females. You got to get out there sometimes, you know? So that's why I like to socialize.
Is that when you learned what that a Long Island iced tea had alcohol in it?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey, but give me that Perrier, but make sure you put rocks in it so they think I've got a little something with
Brent,
some
water.
vodka in
I
it.
get the water neat.
Okay.
Buckeye bookends in the studio, Brent. This is great.
Were you guys...
we overlap by a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you from Ohio?
Toledo.
Toledo. Oh, okay.
Toledo. And we were just talking, we both suffered through the John Cooper era.
Well, so let me tell you how bad I suffered, Brent. 1995, Eddie George wins the Heisman. They're an 8.5-point favorite in Ann Arbor. They lose the game 31-23. I had to go to Ann Arbor the next June for a graduation. They still had the damn score up in Ann Arbor on the scoreboard at 31-23.
Oh, horrible.
John, Vinny. So John Cooper, he wins a Rose Bowl, okay, and I'll never forget this. I think it was the late John Saunders was doing the presentation. Dick Vermeil and I did the game against Arizona State. Jake Plummer, gallant in defeat, but he couldn't bring the Sun Devils back. So they're presenting the trophy to John, and I'll never forget this line because now, for probably the first time and maybe the only time in his career, he was getting a huge ovation from the Buckeye fans who had jammed the Rose Bowl. He said, "I want to thank all our Buckeye fans. They're with us winter time." I still have never forgotten that line. That it's an old line, but a coach uses it live after he's just won the Rose Bowl.
I'm sure Adam remembers that game. Brent, I remember you and Vermeil called the game January 1, 97. I was at the game, and afterwards I went back and watched the tape of the game. Your buddy Dick Vermeil had one of the greatest lines ever.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. These referees should donate their checks to charity. It was so poorly called.
He did the full pirouette, wound his microphone cable around him. He was so upset about a couple. I think the last call was a pass interference.
Yes, PI. And David Boston, he was running a corner route. Oh, my God.
Yeah. But there were no ties in the book that day. That I could tell you.
Oh, my man. So, Adam, tell me, I want to know, were you at the game or were you watching on television the debacle against Purdue? I want to know your reaction as you watched it, what you said to your friends. What were you thinking?
I actually was in Miami, watched it there. It was no surprise. This is horrible to say. This is the second year in a row where they've brought out a young fan for the other team. Iowa last year. It was this year. A gentleman with cancer. It's the second year in a row. It was a dying wish to beat Ohio State. And they were successful both times.
Well, he should have wished for something better considering our defense. They had plenty of chances. I don't want him to use his wish on that. He could have won that game without that wish.
Yes, but they still have to beat Michigan, so they're still alive.
Brent, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Their defense is horrendous.
True.
They've given up too many big plays. They've given up the most plays over 25 yards of anyone in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. They brought in Alex Grinch from Washington State, who was a phenomenal coordinator for WSU last year. Combine that with Shianu, and this team has just looked so out of place on defense.
Now, down there at Delray Beach, down a little bit further south here, they got some great high school football teams down there. Do you help the Buckeyes recruit some of that talent?
Well, there was a gentleman by the name of Bosa who unfortunately left the team a few weeks ago.
Right.
But him and his brother Joey did a pretty good job when they played in Columbus.
Yeah, they did. The Bosa boys were up there, and yeah, that's too bad that because that would have changed the defense, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it makes up for the problem is with the linebackers in the secondary. The front line is great. Draymond Jones going to be a first-round pick. Chase Young in 2020 will be a first-round pick. They have immense talent up front. The problem is the back seven, and that's where I don't think they've been able to correct things. They have a ton of talent. For whatever reason, these guys have not picked it up yet.
Now, listen, I'm looking at the game in Columbus. I've got it at 21.5. Buckeyes favored over the Cornhuskers. Adam, are you telling me that I should think about backing Nebraska in this game?
I wouldn't touch Ohio State.
Hey, Brent. hey, Brent.
Amal.
It's down to 18.
It's down to 18?
Down to 18. That's correct. Yeah, it's been...
So people have jumped on the Cornhusker bandwagon.
They're on the Huskers, yeah. They believe that...
Wow.
They finally got a win last week, and... They've got things righted here.
I would just say tread lightly. If you look at the last few games that Nebraska's played Ohio State, I mean, Ohio State could have been arrested for homicide. I mean, they murdered Nebraska. They flat out have destroyed.
Are you going to lay 18?
I probably will, just because you know what Urban's been great at? His teams beat teams by a million points that they should beat. His issue has been in some of the bigger games.
Wait a minute. Iowa last year and Purdue this year?
They were road games. Big difference.
Oh. You're saying Columbus games that he hammers.
He hammers people, yeah. Look at Michigan State last year, 48-3.
Adam?
They play better during the day, too. Those were 8 p.m. games.
Yeah.
You know, those
what do you mean they play better during the day?
I don't know. The afternoon games, they seem to be better.
Interesting.
Well, how about?
They like...
They beat Minnesota, but Minnesota defensively is much better than Nebraska. Nebraska couldn't stop a high school team. I mean, Nebraska. Finally, Nebraska got a win against Minnesota, right?
Against Minnesota.
I mean, I don't.
That's great. I love fans when they get depressed about their teams. That's amazing.
It helps. It helps drive our engine.
Absolutely.
But I love it when people listen. They come up. They've got their passion, and they back their teams. I have a lot of respect
Adam,
for the folks.
who? If you're not going to pick the Buckeyes, you can't pick the Buckeyes. I'm going to take the Buckeyes away. Who's going to win the national championship this year?
It's Alabama's to lose. I mean, they are just stacked. They just, they have the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback, and they're 3 deep at every position.
Amal, I want you to know that is an Ohio State alum saying that, and that's not me.
Not all our fans are rational. Okay, let's just be real here for a minute.
14-point favorites in Baton Rouge this week. 14.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, Brent, you always say it's about cashing tickets. Let me help you, my friend. Go bet the Clemson Tigers. I said it before the season started. I'm standing by it. That defense is a different level. And you know what? Everyone criticizes the Big 12 because they don't play defense. Who in the SEC is playing defense against Alabama?
I'm listening.
Who does Missouri stop? Missouri gave up Georgia gave up 275 yards rushing to Missouri. Listen, it doesn't matter what Alabama does in the regular season. Let me know how they fare against Clemson.
Is the first ranking coming out tonight, Brian?
In about 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
All right. Adam Frankel, VSiN fan, Ohio State alum from Delray Beach. Thank you so much for dropping by, my man.
And thank you for one thing, Brett.
Yes, sir?
Holy Buckeye.
Holy Buckeye. Back live, VSiN.com, SiriusXM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.
As Uncle Brent always says, cash and tickets is what it's all about. And that's what every issue of Point Spread Weekly is all about, too. VSiN wants to make you a better handicapper, not just today, not just tomorrow, not just this week, but for months and for years to come. And now is the time to subscribe. We have a special limited-time offer. We're halfway through the football season. You can get Point Spread Weekly and full access to everything we do for just $99 through the Super Bowl. That includes our 24/7 live video stream, replays of our shows, our special guides, and online exclusives, full coverage of NFL Week 9 with a special focus on the big showdown, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night. You also get the top pro and college football games to watch, power ratings and best bets from VSiN's experts, plus handicapping articles and info on college basketball. That's right, it's almost here. Plus the NBA, NHL, golf, CFL, and NASCAR. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe for the package that makes the most sense for you, including our special offer, $99 through the Super Bowl. This includes Point Spread Weekly as well as full access to our live video and our replays. That is VSiN.com/subscribe.